Someone in your life has given you advice that felt right in the moment. Maybe it came from a parent, a teacher, a friend who seemed to have things figured out. Maybe you read it somewhere or heard it so many times it started to sound like fact. The problem isn't that people give bad advice because they want to hurt you. The problem is that some of the most repeated, most trusted, most well-intentioned advice out there is actually working against you. Quietly. Every day. In ways you haven't been able to name because the advice sounds so reasonable on the surface. You've probably tried to follow some of it. Maybe you've beaten yourself up for not being able to. Maybe you've built entire beliefs about who you are based on advice that was never accurate to begin with. Today we're going through 6 of the most common pieces of advice people give. Advice that feels wise, sounds helpful, and gets repeated constantly. And looking at what the research actually says about each one. Not to be contrarian, not to tear anything down, but because you deserve to know when the map you've been handed doesn't match the territory you're actually living in. Here's the thing about bad advice. It doesn't feel bad when you hear it. It feels reassuring. It feels like someone who cares about you is sharing something true. And that's exactly what makes it stick. And exactly what makes it hard to question. The 6 pieces of advice we're covering aren't obscure or fringe. You have definitely heard all of them. You may have told some of them to other people. And by the end of this, you're going to look at each one very differently. Number 1, don't compare yourself to others. This one is everywhere. Don't compare yourself to others. Run your own race. Stay in your lane. And it sounds healthy. Like protection from envy, from inadequacy, from the trap of measuring your life against someone else's highlight reel. But here's what that advice gets wrong. Comparison isn't the problem. It's one of the primary ways human beings learn, grow, and orient themselves in the world. Think about what a role model actually is. It's someone you compare yourself to and decide to grow toward. Think about what a mentor is. It's someone whose standards you use to measure your own development. Comparison is built into how we improve. The research on this is clear. The issue isn't that you compare, it's what you compare and why. Comparing yourself to people who are further along in a skill you're building is one of the most effective ways to accelerate your growth. Comparing yourself to your past self, have I improved? Have I changed? Have I let go of things that were holding me back? Is one of the most accurate ways to measure real progress. The advice should never have been stop comparing. It should have been compare better. Compare upward to people who show you what's possible. Compare backward to see how far you've actually come. And stop comparing sideways to people whose circumstances, starting points, and goals have nothing to do with yours. Number 2, always stay positive. This one is well-intentioned and genuinely harmful at the same time. The idea that you should maintain a positive mindset, look on the bright side, not dwell on negative emotions, it sounds like good mental hygiene. But what the research on emotional health actually shows is almost the opposite. The people who are psychologically healthiest are not the ones who feel good all the time. They are the ones who experience a wide range of emotions, including difficult ones, and have learned to move through them without getting stuck. Psychologists call this emotional flexibility, the ability to feel anger, sadness, grief, frustration, fully without immediately trying to replace those feelings with something more comfortable. Because here's the thing, when you force positivity on top of a genuine negative emotion, you don't eliminate the negative emotion. You just push it underground. And underground emotions don't disappear, they accumulate. When you tell yourself you shouldn't feel bad about something difficult, you are quietly sending yourself a message that the difficult thing wasn't acceptable, that your real experience of it isn't something you're allowed to own. That's not positivity. That's a subtle form of rejecting your own experience. Real psychological health isn't about feeling good all the time. It's about getting genuinely skilled at feeling everything, including the hard things, and still being able to function. Number 3, follow your passion. This is probably the most popular piece of career advice in the world. Find what you love. Do what you're passionate about. Your passion will guide you to the right work. The problem is that research on how passion actually develops tells a very different story. Passion is not something you find. It's something that grows, and it grows through competence, not the other way around. Here's what actually happens. You start developing a skill. You begin to get good at it. Because you're getting good at it, you receive positive feedback from the work itself, from other people, from the results you're producing. That positive feedback makes the work feel more rewarding. So you engage with it more, which makes you better, which brings more reward. And somewhere inside that cycle, what you experience as passion emerges. In other words, passion is the result of getting good at something, not the prerequisite for starting. The advice to follow your passion gets this backwards. It assumes the feeling comes first and the ability follows. The evidence suggests the opposite is almost always true. There's another problem too. In many cases, turning something you love into something you do professionally changes the experience of it entirely. The things you love as a hobby, the freedom, the lack of pressure, the fact that you do it entirely on your own terms, often disappear the moment it becomes a job with deadlines, clients, financial pressure, and the expectation that you perform on demand. The better advice is this: don't follow your passion. Follow your potential. Find where you have genuine aptitude and invest in it. The passion tends to follow. You can be passionate about many different things throughout your life. Passion shifts. It evolves. The person you are at 22 is genuinely passionate about different things than the person you'll be at 35. Building your entire career around a single passion you identified in your early 20s assumes that passion is fixed, that it won't change, grow, or be replaced by something you haven't discovered yet. It almost always does, which is another reason to follow your potential rather than a feeling that is, by its nature, temporary. Number 4, love is enough. This one causes real damage. The belief that if two people love each other enough, that love is sufficient to make the relationship work. That love conquers. That love fixes. It doesn't. Love doesn't introduce trust where there isn't any. It doesn't create compatibility that doesn't exist. It doesn't make someone a good partner if they're not. What love actually does, and this is the part nobody says clearly enough, is amplify what's already there. If the relationship has a foundation of genuine respect, shared values, and healthy communication, love makes it deeper and more meaningful. If the relationship has a foundation of dishonesty, poor boundaries, or incompatible values, love makes those things more painful and more consuming, not less. The cultural story we've inherited says that love is the ingredient that makes everything else work. The evidence says love is leverage. It intensifies whatever the relationship already is. Which means the question to ask about any relationship isn't, do we love each other? It's, what is this relationship underneath the love actually made of? You can love someone deeply and still be in a relationship that is making you less healthy, less yourself, less capable of living well. Love is real and it matters. But it was never meant to carry the entire weight of a relationship by itself. And staying in something that isn't working because the love is real is one of the most common and most costly mistakes people make. Number 5, trust your gut. Trust your gut. Trust your intuition. If it feels right, it probably is. This advice has an appealing simplicity to it. The idea that somewhere inside you, there's a reliable signal that knows the answer before your rational mind has worked it out. And sometimes that's true. The research on intuition shows that gut instincts can be genuinely valuable, but only in very specific conditions. Specifically, when you have significant experience in the area you're making a decision about. When your gut has been trained through years of repeated feedback to recognize genuine patterns. An experienced doctor's gut feeling about a patient, a seasoned investor's instinct about a deal, a skilled teacher's read on a classroom dynamic. These are cases where intuition is drawing on thousands of accumulated data points that the conscious mind can't process quickly enough. In those contexts, the gut is often right. But when you're in a situation you haven't experienced before, or making a decision in a domain where you have little real expertise, your gut is essentially guessing. It's pattern matching against whatever experiences you happen to have had, which may have nothing useful to say about the situation in front of you. And the feeling of certainty that comes with a gut instinct doesn't change that. You can feel completely sure and be completely wrong. Intuition is something you earn through genuine experience. If you're young or new to a situation, or in territory you genuinely haven't navigated before, the default position should probably be to question your gut, not trust it. Use analysis. Get information. Talk to people who have experience you don't. Your gut will get better, but it needs the right kind of experience first. The research shows that the strength of the feeling, how sure you feel, has almost no relationship to how accurate the gut instinct actually is. You can feel completely certain and be completely wrong. You can feel hesitant and uncertain and turn out to be right. The feeling of knowing is not the same as actually knowing, which means that in situations where you genuinely lack experience, the confidence of a gut feeling is not a reason to trust it. It's actually a reason to pause. Number 6, never give up. This might be the most culturally embedded piece of advice on this list. Never give up. Keep going no matter what. Push through. The people who succeed are the ones who didn't quit. There's truth in it, but only partial truth. And the part that gets left out is the part that actually determines whether persistence is serving you or costing you. Here's the question that never gets asked alongside never give up. What are you giving up by not giving up? Every hour you spend pushing toward one thing is an hour you're not spending on something else. Every door you keep forcing is a door you're not opening down another corridor. Persistence has an opportunity cost. And in a world with as many paths and options as the one we live in, that cost is real. There's the resistance that comes with learning, the difficulty of building a skill, the frustration of early incompetence, the discomfort of doing something you're not yet good at. This kind of resistance is normal and temporary, and pushing through it is exactly right. It's a sign that growth is happening. Then there's a different kind of resistance, the kind where the more effort you put in, the lower the returns. Where you're working harder and progressing less. Where the ceiling of what seems possible keeps failing to rise no matter how much you invest. This isn't a sign to push harder. This is information. Knowing when to redirect your effort towards something where your work actually compounds, that's not weakness. That's one of the most strategic decisions you can make. The skill isn't just persistence, it's knowing what deserves your persistence. None of the people who gave you this advice were trying to mislead you. Most of it comes from real experience, real care, and real good intentions. The problem is that good intentions don't make advice accurate. And advice that sounds wise but points you in the wrong direction doesn't become less damaging because the person who gave it meant well. What all 6 of these have in common is that they take something real, comparison, emotion, passion, love, intuition, persistence, and flatten it into a rule that doesn't hold up when you look closely. The world is more specific than most advice gives it credit for. You are more specific than most advice gives you credit for. Compare better, not less. Feel everything, not just the comfortable things. Build competence first and let the passion follow. Ask what your relationship is made of beneath the love. Earn the right to trust your gut through genuine experience. And know the difference between resistance that's worth pushing through and resistance that's telling you something important. Better advice isn't always simpler. Sometimes it's more honest. And honest is more useful than comfortable, even when comfortable is what we were hoping to hear.